Hey everybody, so I know it's been a couple of days and I've been having so much drama, but whatever. We're going to get into a story time today and we're going to call this Cancer Chronicles. I know that I brought up having cancer a couple of times and I want to tell you guys my story. So it all started in 2017. I graduated from college that year. I started my job in my profession that year and my aunt passed away that year. Also, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I started my job July 10th, 2017, and I was very excited. I worked really hard to get into that position to start this new career. It was the second act for me. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Just bear with me, you guys. I'm going to try to make this as concise and to the point as I can. So, I worked in a hospital and I worked specifically in internal medicine. That's where you see your primary doctor. And I didn't have a primary doctor at the time. And I figured I might as well get one. It's crazy to not have a doctor, but tell people that they need to, keep their appointments with their doctor. So I'd always been healthy. I mean, I had a breast reduction when I was 17, and I had a couple of topic pregnancies in my 20s. But other than that, I was as healthy as a horse. So I made my doctor appointment. My primary doctor was also she was like the family doctor. She was my mom's doctor, my aunt's doctor, and my doctor. So I had my, checkup exam, whatever, and she found lumps. Um, I just thought it was scar tissue. I had an issue with scar tissue in my early 20s, and they just did a surgery and got rid of it, and everything was okay. Boom, boom, bam. So I just figured it was scar tissue again, but my doctor wanted me to get a biopsy. So I was like, okay. And she was like, it's just routine. We're going to hope for the best. So I went to the doctor and I got my biopsy, and they said we will let you know in a couple weeks what we find. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I honestly put it out of my mind, you guys. I really thought it was just scar tissue again. So I was at work October 17th, 2017, and I got the call, and the doctor told me that they found cancer in three different places. Um, I was devastated. Anyone who is watching this, or if you know anyone who has cancer, when you hear that word, the bottom drops out. Like your head is spinning, your whole world is crashing down around you. All you know is, I have cancer, I'm going to die. So I was so nervous, you guys. Hold on, I want my light to go off, so I'm just going to mess with my computer a little bit. There we go. Um, so yeah, um, I couldn't complete my day's work. I was just too distraught. I was crying and inconsolable. I told my sister first. I called her. She worked at the same hospital, and I called her and I told her. And she's always been the tough one, and she's like, okay, we're going to figure out what to do. There's no reason to get upset. Calm down, call mom. So I called my mother, but I couldn't get through to her because she also worked at the same hospital, but the area she was in, she couldn't get any cell reception. So I went home. Um, Prior to all of this, when I started my job, they loved me. I mean, they called me a breath of fresh air because I'm a very upbeat, happy go lucky person. I smile all the time and I'm positive. Like, I always thought my superpower was the power of optimism. So, you know, I informed my mom, and she's like, it's okay. We're going to get through this together. We're going to talk to the doctors and figure out what we need to do. This is not going to be a death sentence for you. And I trust my mother, and I believe my mother. She's always been my superhero, you guys. I'm trying not to get emotional. So, October 25th, my aunt had a fall. She was already not doing well. She had stopped eating. Every time she ate, she threw up. She was losing lots of weight. And they hospitalized her. So my mom was dealing with that because, that's her sister and they've always been a team. And she was also dealing with my issues. So I think I look really cute, you guys. So I'm going to try not to cry and mess up my little makeup I put on. And I'm going to do a makeup tutorial because this only took me 6 minutes. Okay. And I don't like makeup where it's like you have a whole new mask on your face and you don't look like you. I like makeup that just enhances your natural beauty. Ching. Anyway. Sorry. Um, we were going to all these doctor's appointments for me. And then my uncle had a heart attack, my mom's twin brother. So my mom had a lot on her plate. So she decided that she was going to retire. I mean, she could retire. She was at the point where she could. She was going to retire because she wanted to focus on her family, her sister, her brother, and her baby girl. So we're going to all these appointments, and I'm not hearing anything the doctor is saying. All I hear is cancer, cancer, cancer. I'm crying all the time. Like, I'm inconsolable. And, the doctor was telling my mom, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And my mom, she is just, like I said, my superhero. She's writing things down. She's taking all the information in and processing it for both of us while she's taking care of her sister and visiting constantly her twin brother who's in the hospital after having a heart attack. So we make a plan, right? But I went to the deacon of my church. I was at this church, Gathering of Christ Church. Shout out to everybody there. And the deacon's wife was a nurse, and she was actually a nurse at a different hospital in the cancer wing. So they wanted me to go to her hospital and get a second opinion, and I did. And let me tell you, it was horrible. First off, they confirmed what my doctor had already told me, that I had breast cancer. I was at the end of stage 2, and the cancer had metastasized through my right arm, through my lymph nodes. So her doctor's plan for me was he wanted to start with chemo. First off, I told anybody who would listen, I did not want chemo. I have never believed in chemo. I worked in the medical field, and to me, chemo was just a poison that they were using on people. Yeah, it killed the cancer, but it killed other things as well, many other things. So it's like, don't pay me any attention. I love messing with my hair. So it's like, why would I do chemo when the hospital that I'm currently at is saying we're going to do surgery, get all the cancer out, and then we'll go from there? So I felt like that was the best option for me. I mean, when I was at the other hospital, they paraded all these doctors in front of me telling me what they were going to do specifically. And it made me feel like a number and not a person. It was like, okay, I'm going to get paid off of you because I'm doing this. And then they're going to pay me for doing this to you. And then I'm going to get paid for doing this. And then I'm going to get paid for that. It was like 5 different doctors. No cap. So I said, Mom, I don't feel comfortable with this. I think I'm just going to stick with my hospital because I don't feel like a number. I feel like a part of the family. Sorry, you guys. I'm just messing with my computer because it keeps going off and I'm trying to figure out how to keep it from not doing that. Okie dokie, artichoke. So I go back to my hospital and they make a plan. They say, well, first we're going to do the surgery, and then we're going to do chemo, and then we'll do radiation, and then after that we'll do hormone therapy. So I was like, okay, that's a lot, but whatever. I just want to get better. I just want to move on with my life, and I don't want cancer to be the focus of my existence like it is. At the same time, like I said, my aunt was really sick. My uncle came home from the hospital, so that was one good thing. But my aunt was still really sick. They had not released her. They tried to release her and she had another fall. So they put her in the nursing home. Okay. And we all know nursing homes can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on where you are and who you are and who's looking out for you. So we went to an appointment, my mother and I, genetic testing, because my mom went to all my appointments with me, guys. Like I said, she's my superhero. And at genetic testing that day, she had called my aunt and was like, I'm going to come and see you tomorrow. My aunt was like, don't bother coming to see me. just take care of my baby, because that's what my aunt called me, because I was her baby. We were like this, you guys, best friends. We talked multiple times a day. I would go get her, I would go see her and just spend time with her because I adored my aunt. One of the last times I saw her, though, in the nursing home, I was just fussing at her like, Auntie, you need to fight. You have to fight so that you can come home. I need you. I cannot go through cancer without you being there by my side. And she was like, I'm fighting, baby. And I think I painted her toenails or something like that. Just loved on her a little bit. But I was frustrated with her because I felt like she wasn't doing enough to come back home. Okay. So, diagnosed in October. My mom retired in November, and we're in December getting ready for this surgery, which was going to happen in the beginning of January. Um, December 21st, 2017. My mom and I were up. Something had happened with my uncle, not her twin, their older brother, who was in a nursing home because he was in assisted living because my mom could no longer take care of him. And that's another story which is real crazy. And I'll tell it one day, but we'll stick to this story. So my mom had like all of these missed calls from my aunt's nursing home. And she called them. And when she called them, they informed her that my aunt had passed away. And I broke down. Like, that news was worse than finding out I had cancer, you guys. I adored my auntie. I don't care what anybody says. She didn't have any children, and she was like my mom. I had two moms. I had my mother, and I had my auntie. I was crushed. My sister was on the phone with me when we found out, and she was crushed. It was the last thing we expected to hear. It was very hard. So, I had my surgery in the beginning of January, and my aunt's funeral was January 20th. And my mom was like, do you think, you're going to be able to go? And I was like, there's nowhere else I would be. I'm going to be there to say goodbye to my aunt. I went with my mom when we went to see the body in the hospital after she passed. It was no way I was going to leave my auntie. I had to see it through because that was my person, you guys. Like, the person who always was on my side, no matter how horrible I was, who always believed in me, who loved me and just saw the beauty in me. Where I couldn't see it, it was her. Um, so I had the surgery January 8th, 2018, I believe. And the surgery consisted of them removing the cancer and also putting in extenders for my reconstruction. Um, I had a double mastectomy because I researched, and in most cases of women with breast cancer, that's what the cancer is attracted to. So that's what the cancer is going to continuously attack. Okay. So if I would have just gotten the right breast removed, in a lot of cases, it occurred 2 to 5 years later in the other breast. So I didn't want to go through it twice. I just wanted to get through, just have it done. Plus, reconstruction is hard. You can't reconstruct one breast to look like the other one. You know what I mean? Like, I would have looked misshapen. I probably would have been better off doing that, but I didn't. Whatever. So I kept getting sick. The day of my aunt's funeral, I sang at her funeral. And then I had to be rushed to the hospital because I was leaking my, I had tubes in my sides, and I was leaking in one of them. And so we had to go to the emergency room, and they had to get the tube positioned back right inside of me. It was so painful, but whatever. So I meet my oncologist, and he was an amazing person. Paul Hergenroder. I'll never forget you. I love you if you're still alive. If not, rest in heaven. Um, my breast cancer doctor, who was a black woman. So I thought I could trust her. You know, I respected her. She was one of the top in her field. Everybody knew her. She was supposed to be, you guys, this braid is just driving me crazy. She was supposed to be such a huge deal. And I trusted her. And she convinced my family while I was under. I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. There we go. She convinced my family while I was under that I needed chemo. Like, she scared them. Like, if I did not get chemo, I would die. Which was not the case. I had done my research and we asked about holistic doctors, but she said she didn't know any, which I find bizarre because all type of doctors go to school with each other. Everybody doesn't go into the same type of practice when they graduate from medical school, and I'm sure she knew some people who went into holistic medicine, but that's besides the point. So I get the chemo, okay, and Dr. Hergenroder administered it, and my sugar shot up so high, you guys, I had to be hospitalized that day after they gave me my first round of chemo, and I was supposed to get like 12 rounds of chemo. Um, Sugar was so high they thought I was going to go into a coma, okay? Um, the nurses came into the room when they admitted me and they were like, Miss Wright, we're going to give you um, insulin. And I said, I would prefer for you not to give me insulin because it's pork in the insulin and I don't do pork because I follow the dietary laws. So I don't consume pork in any way, shape, or form. And she was like, okay, we'll get you something else. And then they came back and they gave me a shot of something. And I'm like, what was that? And they were like, it was insulin. And I'm like, but I told you I did not want insulin. Well, we had to get your sugar down or you were going to go into a coma. Okay, you violated my rights there. But I chose not to make a big deal about it because I'm usually a not make any waves type of person. I don't try to keep anything, any type of drama or anything going. I just try to go with the flow. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to get a drink of water. Anyway, so after they gave me the chemo, I was like so sick. Like, I would not get out of bed. My body was in so much pain. I would not eat. I would not drink because I got thrush in the chemo treatment. It gave me thrush. So, like, my tongue was swollen and it hurt to swallow. I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't eat. And my mom was like, you know, I'm hating this. It's like watching you die. And she forced me to eat and she forced me to drink what little I could. But you guys, I am not playing. I lost 20 pounds in 7 days. Okay. So I went back to the hospital. And that whole week, I was telling my mom, Mommy, I'm not getting no more chemo. I don't care what they say. I'm not getting any more chemo. I can't. If I get more chemo, I'm not going to survive this. And she was like, okay. So I went to see my primary doctor because guess what? Now I have diabetes. Yay! Cancer. The gift that keeps on giving. So my primary doctor was like, well, you were pre-diabetic. Okay, but pre-diabetic is not diabetic. So I was upset because now they're putting me on all this medicine. I'm telling them I'm not taking insulin. We need to find another way because I'm not putting any pork into my body. Plus, here's a little tip for everybody if you did not know. If your body is getting insulin forced into it, your body stops creating its own natural insulin because it doesn't need it because there's insulin in there. So I think it's smarter to let my body create the things that it needs instead of taking a supplement for it. So I told my primary doctor, I'm not getting any more chemo. You can't convince me. I don't care what they say. I don't care. At this point, I'd rather just take my chances. I'm not doing any more chemo. And she was like, okay, hold on, hold on. I understand what you're saying, but let's get your percentages. And I'm like, percentages? What is that? She was like, your percentages of what's the percentage of the cancer recurring if you don't get the chemo. So I said, okay, cool, bet. So I had an appointment with my breast cancer doctor, the black lady. But she had a British accent, you guys, so she's not from America, obviously. But still, she's black, and black is black. And I mean, she was dark black. It's not like she was, fair skinned or anything like that. So I felt bonded to her because I feel like I'm dark black. And, we go through, as black women, we're treated the same. I don't care how educated you are, I don't care how much money you have. If you're a black woman, you're treated with those same tropes, and stereotypes. So I go to her and I tell her, I say, hey, I'm not doing no more chemo, honey. The chemo is finished. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. And she's like, okay, then shall I understand that? But if you don't get your chemo, what are you going to do? That's not how she talked. Obviously, my British accent sounds more African, but whatever. So I was like, well, I need to know my percentages. What are my percentages? And she's like, huh? I'm like, so like if I do nothing at all, if I just go on with my life now, what are the percentages? But before I asked her that, I asked her if they got all of the cancer. And she said that they did get all of the cancer. They removed all of my lymph nodes in my right arm, and I had no more breast tissue. So what was the cancer going to feed off of? Obviously, I didn't have anything that it craved anymore. So she says she got all of it. But today is September 7th, 2023, and I'm still diagnosed with breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer, stage 2 points. I don't know. They said I was going into stage 3. Anyway, so the percentages. I said, so if I do nothing at all, what's my percentage of the cancer recurring? And she said, well, 40%. I said, okay, not 50, 40. So I said, then what are my percentages if I do the hormone therapy? Because like the hormone therapy, they always said I had to do that for 5 to 10 years. Sound like a prison sentence, right? It was. So she was like, well, if you do the hormone therapy, that takes your percentage down to 25% of it recurring. I said, okay. So I was like, well, what about the chemo? She said, well, if you do, check this out, guys, do the math with me, make sure the math is mathing. She said, if I do chemo, radiation, and hormone therapy, that would take my chance of recurrence down to 15%. Now, let me tell you something about radiation. I never intended to do radiation because when I spoke to my radiologist, the doctor that introduced himself to me, the first thing he said was radiation causes different types of cancer. Why? Please tell me why. Oh, why would I get a treatment that could give me a different type of cancer when I'm trying to defeat cancer? Light bulb moment. So I said, so I'll pass on the chemotherapy and the radiation. 10% is not enough. Now I can see if she'd be like, if you did all this stuff, there's zero chance of you ever getting cancer again. Then that's a no-brainer. Do it because you don't want cancer. But 25% chance is out of 100 is, I'll take that chance, you guys. I was willing to take that chance. I said, so yeah, no more chemo for me. I will not be doing chemo. I will not be doing radiation. So I could tell that she was upset and disappointed. And she was like, well, okay, let's schedule your next appointment with me. So I went to see my oncologist, Dr. Hergenroder, and I walked into his office, and the first thing he said to me, because they have to put these notes in your chart when they see you. And it was in my chart that I refused chemo. No more chemos. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. No more chemo. And the first thing that wonderful, wonderful doctor said to me is, Don Shell, I apologize that we poisoned you with that chemo. Thank you, Dr. Hergenroder. Thank you for being honest when no one else would. And before I saw him, I was doing a lot of research, you guys. It's something that I'm advocating for each and every person. Do your research. Know what's right for you, okay? You live in your body every day. You know what your body can and cannot handle. You know how things are going to affect you. You know you, so do the research. And through my research, I felt like chemo was just a no-go. It was a no go. It did more harm than good. Plus, after that first round of chemo, my brain changed. I couldn't retain things the way I used to. I had to write everything down. Like I couldn't remember anything. People, places, stories. It didn't matter. I just could not remember. I could not wrap my mind around it. I don't know what chemo scrambled in me, but it scrambled something. So Dr. Hergenroder was amazing. I mean, you guys, I had a splinter in my finger, and this man, who has been an oncologist for 40 years, had not done this type of stuff since his residency days. He went and he got his little kit and he got the splinter out my finger. I mean, if that is not a lovely doctor, he would call me on the phone to check on me and see how I was doing. He was amazing. He retired. And when Dr. Hergenroder retired, that broke my heart. I cried like a baby because I knew the last person that was on my side is gone. Okay. I remember what I was going to say about the research. When I researched the chemo, do you know that doctors get paid between $3,000 to $5,000 per chemo treatment? That's the kickback they're getting from the medicine companies, the medical companies. Like, that's insane. That's more than I made a month. Well, after taxes. Before taxes, I was making about that, but after taxes, I definitely was not bringing that home. So I understood at that point why my breast cancer doctor, the black woman, was pushing me to get this chemo because she wanted that paycheck. It was never about me and the best health of me, my welfare, me getting better, me being healthy. It was about her payday. So shortly after I refused the chemo and the radiation, she dropped me as a patient, you guys. Like I had an appointment with her, and then I looked on my scheduled appointments, and I had an appointment with a different provider, and then that appointment disappeared off of my schedule list, and I just never saw another breast cancer doctor. So here we go with a musical chair of oncologists. So the first oncologist I got, because I was still in hormone therapy, which I have to have every 4 weeks, which is a shot that took away my ability to ever have children. Okay, this shot throws me into menopause. I'm not producing eggs anymore. And I was looking into seeing if I could get my eggs frozen, right? But it was so expensive. And at the time, I was only working part time at my job. I was technically only supposed to work 24 hours a week, but I was allowed to work as many hours as I wanted under a certain nurse practitioner. She was so cool, Gail. Shout out to Gail. Love you, Gail. She's always been kind to me. Anytime I saw her, she was so great to me. And that whole clinic turned on me at one point, but never Gail. So while all of this is going on, you guys, I was only supposed to be out of work for 4 weeks. But because of a lot of health things like the newfound diabetes, and I kept getting infections from the extenders that they put in for the reconstruction, um, I didn't return to work until May. So I was out from work from January to May. That's 4 months. When I came back, some of my coworkers, well, one coworker, Maria, and shout out to Maria. She was the person who trained me when I first came to that clinic. She went around and she got donations for me. because I basically had just started that job when all of this had happened, so I didn't really have anything saved or anything like that. So Maria went to all the doctors, she went to all the nurses, and she went to all the MAs. I was an MA, and all of the older MAs, they donated, but the young MAs that were like my age and a little bit younger, none of them donated to me. I guess they didn't like me for whatever reason. I don't know. They before I left, they used to say things like I was too enthusiastic and I was too happy. But I didn't know that those were bad qualities. I would think that you wanted somebody like that working with you, but I guess they felt some kind of way because it made them look like what they were, miserable. So it was funny. Maria was like, these girls can spend $20 on lunch every day, but they couldn't give a couple dollars to your donation. And Maria's so petty, y'all. She wrote down every person name who donated, so I knew who donated. And excuse me, they collected like $500 for me, and I did appreciate it because I had a car note, so I was able to pay my car note. Um, I come back to work, and everybody resented me. Like my coworkers, the other MAs. Not the, it, We had like two groups of MAs. We had the A side and the B side. The A side were the older MAs. They were like my mom's age. A lot of them knew my mom and worked with my mom. And then they had the B side, which was like all the young girls that were like 35 and younger, 36 and younger. They were like my age and younger. So I would get emotional some days, which is understandable. I have cancer. I'm living with this every day. My body has been mutilated. I no longer have breasts. See, flat as a board. No longer have breasts. I no longer have the ability to have children, which was my dream, you guys. I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted to share my love with somebody and have that connection like me and my mom. Um, it was hard. I'm trying not to cry. It was really hard to give up on that. Anyway, excuse me. So they were just so mean to me at my job. Like they would all be sitting around like, oh my gosh, it was a Thanksgiving, and my birthday is around Thanksgiving. It's a light day. All the providers are on vacation. Nothing's really going on. And the nurses are standing around in their phones showing pictures of their children and grandchildren and stuff. And the B side is doing it. The A side is completely shut down. All those ladies had the day off. They've been working there for eons. So they all were able to get the day off. And it was just the young people there, and they were just so mean to me. Nobody would interact with me or speak with me. I remember we had a patient who had to give a bowel movement, and they made me go collect the poop. And it's my birthday, you guys. I had to work on my birthday. Um, and I told them it was my birthday. They knew it, and they would celebrate everybody's birthday, and I would pitch in. I would pitch in money and sign the card and everything. They had no card for me. They didn't even say happy birthday, nothing. They stood around commiserating with each other while they made me clean every room. Well, go clean every room, and this is the head nurse of the day, so I couldn't go against her, but I was just like, that's messed up. Why y'all being so mean to me? And it's like y'all punishing me because I was out, but I was out for a legitimate reason. It wasn't like I was just like, oh, I'm gonna take an extended vacation from work, and the nurse Gail I was telling you about, she was amazing because when I came back to work, she would say, if you don't feel up to working, call me around 6 in the morning, or send me a text, and I'll take you off the schedule for the day so that you won't get any trouble. So maybe they were upset because she gave me that privilege, but she gave me that privilege because cancer is no joke. My body betrays me all the time. I can wake up and I can feel like $100, and I can wake up and I can feel like 2 cents. It just depends. So when I'm getting these hormone treatments, it messes with your bones. So now I have osteoporosis and arthritis in my left hip. And it's painful. But there's nothing they can do about it because they say I'm too young for a hip replacement because you are only allowed to get one per lifetime. So If they gave me one now, I'd have to get one again at 60. So I can't get one. They wanted to give me these shots, but no thank you. I hate needles. I will not be getting some shot that you have to use an x-ray machine to see to make sure you're hitting the spot. No. No, no, no. I was not going to do that. They said I could exercise and that'll help, and it has helped. But back to the point, they were just so horrible to me. And then one day, one of my coworkers said, "You need to get over having cancer." And I'm just like, how do you get over that? Please tell me. I want to. You think I want this? You think I was like, can I please have cancer? Me, please, me, please. No. It was not a decision that I would have made. It devastated me. It's definitely something I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. So I decided to leave that clinic, you guys. I worked in that clinic for 2 years. And the crazy thing is, I hopped around this hospital my whole career here, and I always gave everybody 2 years before I left. So I went to another clinic on a part of town that was close to my home. I mean, this was like real close to my home. Like I could have walked to work. I didn't, but I could have. Uh, and I get there, and it's in the part of town where it's predominantly white. But I don't care. I don't see color. I don't judge people off of the contents of their color. I judge you off the contents of your character. It's how you treat people that matters. Because these were black girls that were mean to me and telling me I need to get over cancer. So I go there, and I'm up front and I tell people my story, and I tell them, I'm going to miss work, and it's not going to be because I want to, but my body betrays me, because now I have this thing where I'm getting these boils all over my body, and I'm diabetic. And I'll admit I was not taking care of myself at first because I never had diabetes. I didn't know how to change my lifestyle, how to change the way I ate. So it was all a learning experience. My sugars were in the 1500s. No, I'm sorry, that's when I was hospitalized. My sugar was like 525. That's where my sugars ran. If you know anything about diabetes, that's extremely high and it's not good. My A1C was a 15. So it wasn't good at all. Since I transferred over there, I got a doctor over there, okay? And my doctor, he didn't seem to care too much about me. He was the head of our department, and, he thought he was all that, and he didn't too much care about me. Like, he would gloss over things like, oh, you don't have to check your sugar, and you don't have to take your pills, yeah, you're okay, whatever. Like, he didn't take any of my health stuff seriously. Meanwhile, I got another oncologist, and this oncologist was horrible, you guys. She kept calling me fat. And I mean, I was like 200 pounds, which wasn't bad because when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was 54 pounds, you guys. So during the course of this year, because I left that clinic in 2019. So in the course of that time, I lost 54 pounds. So you act like I'm some big, fat, huge Michelin man stumping down the street, breaking the sidewalks. And that wasn't the case. I even had a doctor tell me once that I was too fat to have a baby. And I'm like, that's crazy because I see women way bigger than me having babies. That's another story. Anyway, back on track. So I go to this new clinic. It's the same clinic, internal medicine, but it's at a different location. And I'm the only black girl. There's a Spanish girl, and then there's white girls. Um, they were all a bit standoffish, and I'm like, well, it's because I'm the new girl. I'm gonna just show them that I'm good at what I do. And one of the girls, she was a nurse. We hit it off because her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was there for her, supporting her, telling her my story to maybe help her understand where her mother was coming from. And we became friends. We became fast friends. Beautiful person, inside and out. Shout out to Jill. Um, And, she was like, Donshell, I just want to be honest with you. So I need you to know, because I felt like my manager didn't like me, you guys. Like, my manager actually told me to stop singing. I was too happy. And all the doctors were complaining about my humming. She was like, um, our manager told us, she had a meeting with us before you came. And she told all of us to be mean to you so that you will leave. And I'm like, what? She told y'all to be mean to me. Like, that is insane. Why would she do that? And that's discriminatory, because she didn't know anything about me other than my name. And let's be honest, Donshell Wright, we know that I don't look like Jennifer Lawrence. Okay? Okay? We knew that I was chocolate. So I filed a harassment suit against her because, I mean, she was trying to write me up all the time, you guys. Even though I had FMLA and my absences were covered, she tried to write me up all the time saying I was defrauding FMLA. Okay, why? Because I'm black. I can't actually need it. Um, I filed a suit against her for discrimination, and it went nowhere. She came, we had a meeting, and she says to me, my mama ain't raised me like that. My mama ain't raised me like that. And I'm just looking at her like, whatever. You told everybody to be mean to me. And she was like, well, you need to think of the source. You need to think of the source. Nobody else would say anything, even though I would ask other co-workers, because they got cool with me because they saw I was a cool person. So I would ask them, and it's like, yeah, she told us to do that, but we ain't do it. That's stupid. We wasn't going to be mean to you for no reason. But one girl was. I mean, this one girl, she was horrible to me, you guys. She kept a dossier on me. Everything I did, she wrote down in the notebook. And the reason why I found out is because one day she left the notebook sitting when she went to the restroom, and it was open. And I didn't see it. The nurse saw it, and she was like, why is Donshell's name? Donshell went to the bathroom for 5 minutes. Donshell did this. Donshell did that. Why is she writing down everything Donshell does? For the manager. Because the manager was trying to get rid of me. So after 2 years of serving there, I just couldn't take the harassment anymore. They threw out my discrimination claim against her and told me I was being overly sensitive. That's what HR told me. So I left there and I went to the eye clinic. I was like, well, maybe I just need a whole change of pace. Maybe I just need to do something else. I went to the eye clinic, and at the same time, I was still having surgeries because we were trying to do the reconstruction, which is part of my recovery. So because I'm diabetic, I don't heal normal like everybody else. So even though I was supposed to be out for 4 weeks, I ended up being out for 6 weeks or 7 weeks. It just depended on how long it took me to heal. I came back, and my coworkers were talking about me. This is the eye clinic. Oh, Donshell's on the board. I wonder if she'll show up today, because she never shows up. And I just ducked my head around the corner and say, hi, ladies, I'm here today. And it's like, oh, hi. I'm like, yeah, now what you got to say? So I was like, okay, this is not a good fit. But I stuck it out because, like I said, 2 years to every department. It got bad because the manager that hired me into that position, he left. And when he left, one of the girls who were my coworker took that position. One of the people who was talking about me. And, she was just so passive aggressive towards me. And I was just over it. So during that time, I had a surgery, my reconstruction surgery, you guys. I got my implants, which wasn't what I wanted. So the doctor and I made a plan. They said if I could lose a certain amount of weight and get to a certain weight, that I could get a tummy tuck, and they would use the fat from my stomach to create my breasts. So that was the plan, and I did everything I was supposed to do. So when we go in to get the surgery, mind you, this is 2022. So I waited a good amount of time from 2018, my surgery, to now to get my reconstruction. And he was like, oh, you're diabetic, so I don't want to do the tummy tuck. We got to get your diabetes under control. I was like, well, I've been working on that. You guys, my diabetes at that time was a 6.7. My sugars ran a 124. So I was doing really, really well. It was no reason for him to deny the surgery that I wanted. But he was like, it's a really big, long surgery. And I don't want to, put your body through that. We're nervous. We don't want to do it. So we're going to give you saline implants. And I was like, okay, I just really want breasts. You guys, I just wanted breasts. I was so tired of being flat. For the first year and a half, I didn't even know there was a such thing as a prosthetic bra. But when I went to my the oncologist who called me fat all the time, it made me cry. When I went to her and I was telling her how I felt about wearing socks to look like breasts, she gave me a prescription for a prosthetic bra. So I got my first prosthetic bra. And it was okay, but it started breaking me out and like I had a rash from it. So I wanted breasts. I wanted the real thing. I wasn't doing it for vanity reasons. I was doing it because I wanted to be whole. So I got the implants in 2022. I got them in May 2022. Okay. I bought all these new clothes. I bought bras. I was so excited. I was like, finally, I'll be normal again. Like, I won't feel weird. People won't be looking at me strangely when I go out without anything on. And it was, is it Memorial Day, the holiday that's at the end of May? Yeah, it was Memorial's Day. And I was supposed to return to work. And I woke up and my whole body was in pain. First off, the tubes, they're called drains. So this time when he did the implants, he only put one drain and he put it on the left side. There was no drain on the right side. And I thought that was weird because whenever I've had anything done up here, they've put two drains on each side. So I was in pain, you guys. Like I couldn't even stand up. I was just in so much pain. But I got up to go to work. I mean, I crawled down the stairs into the living room like, Mom, I'm in so much pain. I don't know what to do. I don't want to miss work because I'm just getting back. And, they treat me like crap when I come back from a leave. And I don't want that drama. I just, want to be normal. So she was like, okay, well, let's take your temperature, girl, because you feel hot. So my mom took my temperature, and my temperature was 102. So she was like, okay, we're going to call the nurse line. We call the nurse line and they're like, well, we're going to notify your doctor and we want you to just wait for him to come up with a plan for you. So remember, I told you my sister works in the medical field as well. So my sister had came over that morning because she dropped her kids off for my mom to take them to school. My mom is retired, so she's taking care of all her grandkids, and that's another story. So she dropped them off and she came in and my mom was like, girl, your sister is not doing well. And my sister checked on me and she checked my temperature again and my temperature had ran up to 103. And I had took Tylenol, so it should have been coming down, but it wasn't. So my sister was like, I'm taking you to the ED right now. That's the emergency room. She was like, I'm not waiting on no doctor. Your temperature is too high and you might become delirious. No, I'm taking you to the ED. So we get to the hospital and they take me back and my temperature is still high and I'm still in pain. And they say, your heart is beating so fast. Do we have permission to resuscitate you if your heart stopped? And that make me freak out even more because what are you talking about? Like, what is going on? And they're asking me all these questions and my mom and I, we tell them we think that it's the implants because that's the only thing that's different in my world. So the surgeon who did my breast implants, his intern came and was like, oh no, it's not the implants. It's not the implants. We need to find out what's going on. They do all this testing and they find out I have sepsis. Sepsis is a blood infection and you can die from it. Um, so they're giving me all these antibiotics, trying to clear out the sepsis. They put me in critical care. And this is post-COVID world, so I was only allowed 2 visitors per day and not at the same time. So my mom basically stayed by my side, and when she wasn't with me, my sister would come. But it was horrible. They just couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then they did a CAT scan, they did all this different stuff. Then they finally said, okay, it's the implants. There was fluid buildup behind the right one. So, right then and there, not my doctor, not the surgeon, but his interns came and they removed the implants. And yeah, I had breasts for all of 3 weeks. Yay. Um, so I had two gaping holes that I had to plug up and patch every single few times a day. I had to redress them, take the gauze out, put new gauze in, and redress them. And it was horrible and it was painful. And I told him, I don't want you touching me again. I had found out from somebody in his department that he had a stroke 3 years ago. He had a stroke 3 years ago. You guys, why is he still, excuse me, why is he still allowed to touch people? Why aren't you informing people so they can make an educated decision whether or not they want him to take care of them? Whatever. So my mom was heated. She cussed him out like, you almost killed my child. You will not be touching her. He was like, I care about you. I care about you. No, you don't, because the whole time I was in the hospital, you never came to see me. You never called me. Didn't send me a card, nothing. You did not care about me. I was another cha-ching paycheck. Um, so his nurse practitioner, who I thought was my friend, she wasn't my friend because they all blamed me, you guys. They all blamed me. It had to be something you were doing. Well, you know, your diabetes was out of control. My diabetes was not out of control because they wouldn't have done the surgery if my diabetes was out of control. You have to do pre-surgical testing a day or two before your actual surgery. And they didn't find any reason to not go through with the surgery. So how dare you try to blame it on me? I mean, they tried to blame it on me. So there was another doctor, and I guess she is a breast cancer survivor. And so she took over and she did a debridement. Okay, when she did her debridement, first off, shout out to her because she took pictures. I guess she was like, this girl is a problem. You know, I already was blacklisted at my job. They were looking for ways to get rid of me, basically, and I had a stain on my name, even though I didn't do anything but just try to survive. So she took pictures, I guess, so that I couldn't blame her for anything. But I had necrosis of the chest wall, you guys. Let me explain that for you. Necrosis is dead tissue. If the tissue had continued to grow, I would not be here telling you this story. But she caught it. Why didn't my original surgeon catch it? And is that the reason behind the failed breast implants? So now I can never have any breast implants. I'm flat as a board, as a cheese board. I butchered. I feel ugly. Um, I feel less than. I don't feel like a natural woman anymore because they've taken so much from me. Not only my breasts, which I know people think is frivolous, but my ability to have children. So, what do I have that makes me a woman? The moral of this story, you guys, do your research. You know your body better than anybody else. And it's called practice for a reason. All right, so that's going to be the end of my story for today. God bless everybody out there that's watching this. The scripture for this is going to be all things work together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. No, it should be, I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me, because I'm still standing. I'm still here. I'm telling you my story. Yes, I still have cancer. No, I don't know when it's going to be over. I pray for that day when they tell me I'm in remission or that I'm cancer free, but I live my life as if I am cancer free. I refuse to let cancer hold me back. And I know that God has something for me. And maybe it's just for me to educate all of you, but I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And remember, God loves you. So do I. There's nothing you can do about it. Peace.